I think they've been all right for you in the morning, but it got a little bit choppy in the afternoon. You're not that good on boats, are you?
No, I mean, when we was out in Gran Canaria, we did do a day on the boat, and I was all right when we were gunning it, but when we stopped to have a fish on the bottom for the raise, I went green as, you know, I was like a pea straight away. And I was IOD'd on sea legs as well.
You'll see some, I'll show you next week. I think we're going to show something a little bit larger than that. And there's something a little bit larger than that. That's an unusual one. That looks like a torpedo ray to me, but I've never seen one out of the water before. What is it?
It's a butterfly ray.
Oh,
and
yeah.
when we was out in Gran Canaria, I was out there with Keith Gladden from Canary Carp Crew and was doing...
Do you know, you might not know, so I used to fish with his dad, Brian.
He told me. And when I told him I was coming on here, mate, I'd never heard the end of it. But we went out for the day, and me and Keith went green about the same time, and I was sitting in the corner of the boat just like this, sort of feeling really sorry for myself in the fetal position. And all of a sudden, the skipper went, that rod's going to go off in a second, because we're only in 20 foot of water, and it was crystal clear, and he saw it come up to the bait. And switched on, done the red light thing, and done the, you know, done the bits of the camera, landed the fish, stuck it back, wicked, then went straight back to my little corner, and I was curled up in a ball. That's
what I like, the professional attitude.
Yeah.
Personal discomfort is nowhere. We're just going to have a quick look at this as well, because that's something you don't see in this country. There were some stock many years ago on a lake near Poole. Whatever happened to them, I don't know, but that's a largemouth bass.
Yeah, I mean, that's Keith, and we was out there filming. We'd done 2 shows all week with him, predominantly carp fishing, but we did the largemouth bass because personally one of my favourite species. They are such an aggressive fish. They was taking poppers off the surface, and, you know, it was just such fun fishing, and that was his biggest of the... We only spent a day after them, but that was his biggest. And under the water, they look like this big, and then they shrink as they come up.
There's one question I've got to ask. When you unhook it, did it sing Take Me to the River? Fishery Focus is coming up next. There'll be advice on the most effective methods and baits to use on some typical venues near you. That's after this break. But boy, oh boy, did he catch some fish.
That's a bit manky for me, I'll be honest. I don't mind a bit of smell, but, you know, dodgy old casters with all their guts hanging out, no way.
I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to take you back to Gran Canaria, because that could have been caught from an Oxfordshire gravel pit.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that is £29.10. The fish is actually called 28, so I said to Keith, you know, should we rename it? But these ducks behind them, I named this one just here, Derek. I was actually...
Derek the Duck?
Derek the Duck, right. I should have named it Daffy, but I wasn't, you know, I wasn't too bright. But I was lifting it up and feeding it crisps out of my mouth and stuff. How weird is that? But we fished an afternoon with him. I mean, they had what they call a Kalima storm, which is a heat storm. It went 48 degrees, so not particularly great carp fishing conditions. We had 6 runs, landed 5 fish. Keith and I had that 29.10. It's getting bigger every time I mention it. Yeah. I had that 29.10. Keith had a 32.2, exactly the same time. Both rods went off at sort of pretty much the same time, and it was probably I mean, all the fish looked like that. Yeah. The best afternoon, the most enjoyable afternoon's carp fishing I've ever had. Not the biggest fish, but the most. I mean, you're seeing them in this clear water, and I'm just going, oh my God, look at that.
I remember Kevin Nash going out there years ago, Gran Canaria, almost, I think he was one of the pioneers. But with any luck, fingers crossed, maybe October time in the autumn, I'm looking to get out with Keith Gladden and maybe have a go at some of them.
And you've got to do the carp, you've got to do the big mouth bass fishing or the largemouth bass. You know what, it's one of the most popular holiday destinations in the world, and people go there and you don't know that within half an hour or an hour's drive, you've got stonking carp, great sea fishing. Well, everyone knows about sea fishing, but, you know, largemouth bass fishing. Yeah. Honestly, I think it's going to be a destination for the future, big time.
Well, I'll tell you another thing. We've had loads of people ask us this week if we'll promote their event for National Fishing Month, which